Hello, I'm Jared.
And I'm Ebony, and this is his.
And hers, Warhammer 40k. Yay! Today we'll be discussing Creed, Ashes of Cadia.
We've been at Cadia a lot.
Yeah. This is an interesting one because when it first came out, I thought it would just be I guess it still is kind of, a tie-in book to the release of Ursula Creed, the new Lord Commander of the Cadian forces, Lord Castellan. Yeah. Because her model came out at the same time, and it was sort of reminding me of back when old like codex units would come out. They'd usually be accompanied by a short story or a novel that really didn't do anything other than say, look at how awesome this character is. Yeah.
I think this is a good book.
I think this was an excellent book. It is a very interesting follow-up to Fall of Cadia by Robert Rath. I would not say it is a direct sequel, so much as it has enough references in it that I would recommend reading Fall of Cadia right before this.
That's how we did it.
And I think that worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
But at the same time, where Fall of Cadia is this huge overarching narrative covering a million different levels, this is definitively small scale, but very character focused.
Yeah. It's
on a really intimate level.
I feel like it is a novel about these characters.
Yes.
On this one mission. Have we read anything else by Jude Reid?
No.
Okay.
I might have read one short story. I would need to check, but no other novel.
I didn't think I had. Okay. Yeah, I really like it. I really like the writing style.
Yeah. I thought the characters were well developed.
Yep.
I thought Ursula was particularly well developed. I love her starting relationship with her father, which is really one of distance and hatred.
Yeah,
she did everything she could to avoid being known as his daughter.
Yeah, in fact, she didn't use his name for a long time.
Yep.
She starts using it in this book. Yeah.
And only because she's forced to, really.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because there are some moments in this book that I would almost say lampoon the designing of her model.
Yeah.
Where this is a new character. She did not exist anymore.
Okay.
In my head, I thought someone at Games Workshop, a black shirt, wants to keep the Creed name.
Yeah.
But we know Creed is not around anymore. So get his daughter.
Yeah.
It's where did she come from? No one
made her up.
Yeah. Brand new. And in a way, this story kind of models that because she gets told to own the Creed name by Guilliman.
Yeah.
Really as a propaganda story.
Yeah, so they want her to take a team of soldiers and go to the ruins, really, of Cadia to retrieve a thing that they say her father has left there as a secret, and it's super important. It'll be important for the continuance of Cadian society. It's a big deal. They're also going to send some casters with her and take pictures, so she should do it looking very soldierly and brave, right? So it is a mission, but also a staged propaganda event.
Right.
And she does at least, I think, get to choose some of her own soldiers.
Kind of.
So
in a sort of mirroring of the let's bring in a multicultural group of individuals to show the representation of it. They bring in every type of Cadian that they could find.
Yes.
And that includes those that were on Cadia, those that were born after Cadia, those that were transplanted into the Cadians, basically a Catachan that they bring in.
Which I'm still going with Catachan.
Yeah. Catachan is the official name, but
it sounds so bad.
I don't like it either.
Yeah. Okay.
But I know that's the term for it. And Cadians that were sent to other regiments.
Yeah.
They bring all of them together to show the wide variety of Cadians.
Including some Cadian, penal legionnaires.
They were not originally supposed to be part of it.
Yeah.
So you have sort of your star performers, and then you have, quote, the help, which was basically a bunch of penal legionnaire squads that were designed to act as a distraction while the star soldiers go off without much trouble.
Yeah, the idea of that they were just wasting these penal legionnaires to distract from the hordes and hordes of chaos forces that are all over Cadia, obviously.
Yeah. So you basically got one continent of Cadia left.
Yeah.
That through warp means and a little bit of nonsensical astro whatever garbage still has atmosphere.
Yeah.
Still has sufficient gravity.
Yeah.
Like,
unclear how that happens. But,
it seems to be held together more by the warp than anything else.
Yeah. And so they're like, send these penal legionnaires, they'll distract them while you go on your mission. And, we think we know where this thing is. Obviously, we don't know where this thing is.
Or what it is.
Yeah, obviously all of that's false.
Mm-hmm. And things go awry very quickly.
For everyone involved immediately.
They don't crash land, but they're immediately set upon.
The plan is that they will land there. The penal legions will distract them. And like a Thunderhawk is standing by and they've got a beacon that they can set off. And if you set it off, we guarantee the Thunderhawk will be there in a minute and will be in continuous comms contact, except there is no comms contact. The beacon doesn't work. Like, they immediately land and get attacked by chaos forces and have to scatter. They lose a bunch of scions. Like, people start dying left and right. On the penal legionnaire side, the ones that we care about, that we're with, crash land. Their pilot dies. One of them is trying to escape. The other one, who is a Cadian, is also a Medicae. And he's not really against being back there. He didn't want to do this, but she volunteered him. And now he's there, and she's like, great, we can escape, except they're wearing these collars that make your head explode.
Yep, penal legionnaire collars.
So you can't really escape, so everyone is screwed, really, right at the start of the book.
And from there, it's really just to try and figure out where to go, how to find this vault, just to survive at this point.
Except there is a giant Nurgle Chaos Space Marine called the Huntsman.
Yes.
Hunting them.
Yeah, so also kind of on the smaller scale.
Yeah.
We have a single, I want to say Death Guard, but it's not actually clear his origin. Yeah. But he is a Nurgle following sorcerer with command of Poxwalkers, who's apparently an exile from the other Chaos Space Marine forces that are still on other parts of, like, the remains of Cadia.
Because they think he's bad at his job or something, yeah. They land in the middle of a literal zombie apocalypse and are being hunted by this Chaos Space Marine, and people are dying left and right.
So he's sort of our, like, external antagonist.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we have so many great internal antagonists because the personalities are really well developed and they clash
a lot
continuously.
Yeah.
Just to run down the list of the people in our little squad, we have Ursula herself, who's brought down in, like, fancy power armor.
Yeah.
Without, like, a long-term power source to it.
Yeah.
This is not Space Marine power armor that's designed to go for weeks and weeks at a time. We have her adjutant, Major Gideon Argent,
who's kind of like a whiny baby, but he's been with her for a really long time.
Right, so they're friends.
Yeah, but I get the impression that he's her adjutant because she doesn't think he's competent enough to be her second in command, right? And so, like, she's trying to protect him as she prosecutes wars by making him her adjutant. But she cares about him. They care about each other.
Then we have Colonel Hadrian Aurelius Van Hast,
who's an asshole, but is
absolute asshole.
Yeah. He's like a noble, like he's from a super noble family on Cadia who was super rich. They were soldiers. He's a very good soldier.
Right. So
good with the power sword.
I believe he was the Cadian who was transferred to another regiment to command and brought back.
But every time you see him, everyone else is like, we're literally getting chased by zombies. Why are your buttons polished? Like, what's happening? Yeah, and he is kind of an asshole the whole time.
But he's very competent.
Yes, very competent, very good at his job, but like...
And he knows it, and he hates when others aren't.
Yeah.
And he will let that be known.
And I think he feels like Ursula is not competent enough to lead this mission, and he should be in charge. But there are a lot of times we get his point of view where he's like, I'm just going to wait for her to ask me to do it, because she should definitely ask me to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's he grows on you.
He does.
Oh, yeah.
And me.
Man, does he grow on you.
Yeah.
We've got Sergeant Major Dominic Strahl, who is a Cadian. He puts up a decent enough showing.
Yeah, but he gets hurt very quickly.
Right.
Yeah.
We've got Tempester Valkrev, who's the last of the, like, stormtroopers that are with them.
Because the other ones got eaten by zombies.
And to be honest, this is the most detailed description of a Tempestus Scion I've ever seen.
Okay.
Personally, they don't get detailed very often.
No, because their job is to be stormtroopers.
Right. Now, I've gotten lots of details of what I'll call stormtrooper equivalents. They're basically subgroups within, like, individual regiments that are considered, whose training meets the, like, Tempestus Scion requirements. And so they're sort of honorary stormtroopers. The Cadian Kasserkins are one.
Yeah.
You did not read Honor Bound, but the Dusk Hounds are like a group within the Antari rifles. We'll get to that book. It's actually my personal recommendation for a new fan's, like, first Imperial Guard novel. Like, I think it beats out the early Gaunt's Ghosts. Yeah, so that's Valkrev, that's Strahl. We get Sergeant Harappa, who is the Catachan that's brought in as, like, to try and bring in new blood to the Cadians, which, if you're going to pull from a regiment, that's, like, really the best one to pull from.
And he's great. He's obviously super confident, super, like, ripped. He's permanently Rambo all the time.
He is exactly what you expect a Catachan transplanted onto Cadia to be.
Yeah.
He's wonderful. We then have two really interesting ones, Trooper Lascari and Trooper Anka.
Yeah, who the book starts with their story. Like, Lascari is a Cadian, and she's in this...
Those are both Cadians.
Yeah, she's in this training unit for snipers, and she is...
Or I guess I should say, they are both of Cadian blood, but they were not born on Cadia. Yeah. And this is really important because I believe this was new lore. They don't have purple eyes.
No, I thought they did, but it's very faint.
Nope.
Maybe that's Ursula I'm thinking of.
That's Ursula because she grew up on Cadia but did not spend her life there. Yeah.
Okay.
They don't have purple eyes because they were never exposed to the Eye of Terror.
Yeah. And Lascari is, according to the lists in her training regiment, the second best shot in their training regiment, the first best being Anka, but he really isn't. He's good, but he's kind of a spoiled noble a little bit. And so he gets preferential treatment even when she shoots better than him. And she has the opportunity to speak to, like, a director, and the director was requested to send a sniper, but they didn't specifically say she couldn't send two snipers. And since Lascari volunteers, she sends both of them. And they have this ongoing tension because he bullies her and beats her up all the time. And so that's the team, really.
With, I guess, just to detail a little bit more, the Penal Legionnaires that we...
Yeah.
So we have Ossian, who's the former Cadian medic. Who we learn his story. And then you have Jaeger.
Liga Jaeger, right?
Liga Jaeger, who used to be a gang member. And is constantly trying to escape now.
Yeah.
And then you also have, for a short time,
Clavey,
the
Ogren,
who's a female Ogren who, to my recollection, is the first female Ogren in 40K lore.
Oh, she's great. I really like her. She's very sweet. And her relationship with Liga is really sweet and probably leads to Liga's downfall.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they crash and they escape from the crash, Liga, Ossian, and Clavey. And right in the middle of Ursula's main character situation, they happen upon each other. And Lascari shoots Clavey and kills her.
Yeah. And
Liga hates her for that for the rest of the book.
Yeah.
And is mad about it. And I mean, in her defense, Liga, she's in prison. She's wearing a detonation collar around her neck. And if you ever meet Colonel von Hast, he shits on them the whole time for being penal legionnaires, right? And so she's
also, if you've never seen an Ogren before, you definitely would have thought it was a chaos.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, also it was a surprise, right? Like, it was a friendly fire surprise. Lascari is obviously really upset about it. But she, she gets over it. But, like, affects her, I think, in a way that's well described
Yeah.
and important to represent. Also, during that intercation, I think that is when Anka dies. He gets shot by chaos forces. Like, he explodes right in front of her after that. So it's very dramatic for Laskari. This is her first, like, action. And she's already murdered someone. And this dude that she kind of hated but then didn't hate because they were on mission together explodes in front of her. It's not great for anyone. Liga's mad at her. And Ursula, in what I think is a good example of her making a leadership decision that Van Haas disagrees with immediately, says, cool, you're a medic because this dude Strahl just got bitten by a zombie and we need a medic.
Yep.
And so you're in this legion. Give me the control of your collar, which she has. And they join, and Liga is like, great, as soon as they're not looking, we're going to escape, right? And Ossian's like, escape to where? This is a zombie planet. Everything is bad. Yeah. And so now they're a group together, really.
Yeah. And it's pretty much their journeying through the wilds, being chased by poxwalkers and sorcerers.
That forest scene is great with the trees, with the faces. And there's a lot of, like, really cool, like, one-off terrifying scenes in this book that I loved because that's my jam.
Oh, yeah. Do you have any other notes for it? I don't know how much of this book I want to spoil.
Yeah, so
because I feel like
a big spoiler, and we are actively not giving it to you. We'll say that in advance because it's so good that neither of us saw it coming, so we're not going to ruin it for you.
Yeah. Unlike Fall of Cadia, where I feel like at least half of the storyline
you know what's happening.
You should already be familiar with. This was all new to us and all new to really everyone for the most part. And I think it answers a bunch of really good questions about Cadians post-Cadia, where they're going, what they're doing. How are they still seen?
Yeah. I mean, we can talk a little bit about finding this device, because that's not the spoiler we're not trying to give you. They come to the conclusion while they're in the middle of that forest with the faces and the trees and the huntsmen chasing them, blowing a horn, and the zombies. They start seeing what they think are humans, like soldiers, and turns out there are Cadian survivors.
Yeah.
This fragment of Cadia, and there are these people that they called, like, the moles who find.
Well, so the mole rats was the name of the regiment.
Okay, yeah.
They weren't like literal.
I know they're not literal moles. I meant called the moles.
Yeah. The 12 Cadian sappers, which if you've read Fall of Cadia already, you know. Creed had all of these different regimental forces locked away in vaults for after the second assault. And that gets detailed in Fall of Cadia. This apparently, I think, was one of those that just was never called up.
Yeah. And so they are guarding this vault, and they've been down there since the Fall of Cadia.
Yeah.
They're starting to have children down there and everything, and their mission to guard this vault.
Now, it's also unclear how much time has actually passed between the Fall of Cadia and the events of this book.
Yeah.
The feeling I get is
60 years, I'm guessing?
No, I think it's less than that.
I don't know.
I would say maybe 30 to 40.
Yeah, I feel like maybe it's 50 to 60, only because Laskari says that her grandmother served with Helsker, who is a character in Fall of Cadia that we just read, right? So that means that someone had a child that had Laskari, right? So 2 generations. So I would give it 50 years, right? Unless everyone's having children at 15, which I suppose is possible.
Among Cadians, that's not surprising.
Yeah, but like I was going to say, 30 years per generation, so 60, but maybe that's too long.
Oh, I think that's definitely too long.
So like 50.
I think by the time you're 20, you have your kid already.
I guess.
So I would max out at 40 on this.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so somewhere between 30 and 50 years we think it has been since the Fall of Cadia, but it's unclear. They don't actually give you that time frame. And so they're down there in this hole. They let them in. They get in there just in the nick of time as the huntsman almost gets them and poxwalkers almost get them. Strahl has died from his wounds, although Ossian did a really good job trying to do a surgery to cut off his arm at the shoulder with no drugs or antibiotics.
Yeah, I do appreciate every time that we get Ossian's scene, you get like real medical like thought.
Yeah.
It definitely feels like is it Jude Reid?
Yeah.
Did research into like or has some experience already with like medical terminology and being familiar with how some of this stuff would actually go.
Yeah.
Because that comes up a couple of different times.
Yeah, and so I guess also it's important to note about Ossian that he's in prison for killing his commanding officer, and you don't know why until almost towards the end of the book.
Yeah.
But people are aware, Ursula is aware that she thinks this is the soldier who's in prison for killing his commanding officer, and he says, I had a good reason, and she says, you must, right? Like they're developing this trust.
They develop a really interesting relationship.
And he tells her why, and she agrees that it's a good reason. Later, we won't spoil that either. I think that's important to his character.
Oh, something that I wanted to bring up that I found interesting, and I didn't notice this until I was almost done with the book. Every chapter is named after an Imperial Tarot card, which is kind of a minor detail, but
Till the end.
I'm interested to know if that's taken further in either a follow-up book or if I guess why that decision was made.
Yeah.
You know?
It's interesting.
I enjoyed that detail a lot once I spotted it.
Yeah. And so they come up with this plan along with the sappers underground to get into this vault that they've been guarding. What we didn't mention is that Strahl has the original Lord Castellan Creed's Ursarker's journal, and we don't know how he got it. He wants to give it to her on camera, and she says, no, keep that.
This was mentioned in Fall of Cadia.
What?
And I totally
don't remember that.
Yeah, I thought Creed gave her something, and then I totally forgot about it.
I remember him journaling in Fall of Cadia. I don't remember who gets it or where it goes, because my first guess would be his adjutant, who definitely
it was. Doesn't he give it to Lascari? Not
Lascari.
Helsker.
Maybe.
When he's like whispering to her.
Oh, he does give her something, but I guess I didn't know what it was and didn't assume it was that. But that it could have been that.
Well, I didn't think it was anything, and I completely forgot. He
gives her a famous dude sword, right?
The sword separate.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she reads his journal finally, because before Strahl dies, he gives it to Ossian. Ossian gives it to her, and she gets into the vault, which I like that they don't do a lot of preamble about that. And in the vault is a recording of Creed to her that says what's on it. We won't say what's on it, I guess, because you might want to have that for yourself. And so now they have to escape because the huntsmen and the poxwalkers are breaking their way into this underground tunnel. So they go through this terrifying escape through these like dark tunnels infested with like flying chaos spawn of terror. It's great. All of that's great.
Oh, those were cornhounds, I think.
But there were also flying ones.
I don't remember flying.
There were flying ones. There were all these things that flew that they had to like shoot down, but they couldn't fire because they had also like rigged the tunnels to explode.
You're familiar with the flesh hounds?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
There are flesh hounds, but there are also flying things.
Gotcha.
And they do get out and they do explode the tunnel and they cause an avalanche. They come out on like the winter side of this fragment of Cadia, and everyone gets separated for a little bit in this flood of snow. We get a flashback to Ossian and why he killed his commander, which I think is very good and well done. And then Van Haast says, like, if we make it to my family's keep, there's communication.
Yeah, so at this point, they're looking for a way
to trigger the beacon. Yeah.
And I think that you want to cut it.
I don't want to give that away either.
Yeah. It's such a character-driven book.
Yeah, that give you too much detail will ruin it.
I don't like to give detail at the character level for this because the development of it is
so
really the
great.
story.
Yeah. I will say that they do get off Cadia. We could say that.
Well, no shit.
Yeah.
Like, did you think the book would end with "and Ursula died"?
Everyone's dead. The end.
No.
Yeah.
Units with models don't die unless they're discontinuing the model.
Yeah.
A brand new model is
came out. Yeah.
Is not going to happen.
So they do escape. And I guess that's where we'll stop because we don't want to give away too much.
Yeah. Let's do scores.
I would give this one a 10 out of 10. I think I like it better than Fall of Cadia.
Now, is that just because you listened to Fall of Cadia on audio?
So that is a fair question because I do find an audiobook a little bit harder than although sometimes to be fair, that might also be down to the narrator.
Okay.
I do sometimes find an audiobook that's fully immersive, and I love it the way I love reading. I didn't find that to be true of Fall of Cadia. I just really love these characters. Like, I really was into these characters.
It's such a small cast.
Yeah.
And they're so focused.
Yeah. And I like the story. I know that you said, like, the general mission is not that big of a deal. I kind of like the story. I liked all the external conflict as much as I like the internal conflict.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10.
Okay.
I'm giving it the same score I gave Fall of Cadia. Okay. And I would say, unlike Fall of Cadia, I feel this book is not getting the spotlight that it deserves.
Fair.
I would recommend this book to anyone that has read Fall of Cadia. I would not say it is mandatory, but I think it is important enough that if you're going to read one, you should definitely read the other.
See, I think it's good enough. Like, the plot and the characterization is so good that I think it's good enough to stand alone. I would recommend this book to someone who's never read 40K, doesn't even know what Cadia is.
Oh, I definitely.
I don't think that matters.
No, I would not go that far.
I don't think it matters that you know who her dad is.
But I think, no, you should know about the Fall of Cadia.
I mean,
you should know that the planet, was it?
Literally is broken into pieces?
No. There's a saying.
I don't know the saying.
The planet fell before the guard did.
Oh, I mean, sure. But I feel like they give you enough of that.
The planet broke before the guard did. That's what it was.
I feel like they give you enough of the spirit of Cadians in the opening of this book when they're trying to make her go do this thing that you would be sold. And I think that having not knowing anything about the Fall of Cadia, you would still enjoy this book. And that is why I would give it a 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is Creed, Ashes of Cadia.
Yeah, so I guess if you're reading it, let us know in the comments if you love it as much as we loved it.
Yeah.
We are back next time with, we hope,
The End and the Death.
Part 3. We're super excited.
Yep. Although, depending on timing, we may also be doing Bloodlines from Warhammer
Crown. Yeah, we're listening to that.
Yeah. So timing will be one of those next.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Bye.
Bye.